What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hey, today is part 2 of the engine diagnostics troubleshooting with the oil system. If you didn't see part 1, go ahead and check that out first. I'll put a video description down or video link in the description below. And but in a nutshell, the problem I was having was that I wasn't getting oil to the onboard oil tank from the reservoir down below. So there's a couple problems that can cause that low oil alarm, which I talked about in part 1, so check that out. But kind of moving on here, I got the engine off, got the boat out, had some water hooked up to it, doing some little additional checking, and I put oil in this manually, just through the cap here. I had to get a little small filter to fill the oil, and so that oil alarm disappeared once I did that. What I also did down here on the oil tank is I took these two caps off and just cleaned the top of the caps, just cleaned, you know, the seals, took off the O-rings that are on there and cleaned those as well. You can see they look a little wet because I had the engine running and I sprayed it with some soapy water just to make sure it didn't have any air leaks and everything was tight, no bubbles. And then inside this one here, where the oil lines connect, the pickup tube for the oil line is screwed into this cap and it goes down to the bottom of the tank. And that pickup tube, the oil pickup tube, at the very bottom of that, there's a mesh screen on there. And so when I pulled it out, it had a little bit of, you know, a little scum on it. I mean, it wasn't like gunked up or anything like that, but I just took off that pickup tube. I cleaned it really well, made sure I wasn't going to damage the screen, and just you know, made sure that was good and clean, screwed it back into the cap, put everything back together, tightened everything down just to make sure, again, I didn't have any air leaks on the tank itself. And then today, I came over, I had the engine running, I disconnected these lines here. Now, if you notice in part 1, I wasn't sure what this device is here, thought maybe it was a check valve. This is actually an inline oil filter. And that inline oil filter, the recommendation is to change that every 100 hours. And then there's this brass valve here, which in the parts guide, it just calls it a fitting. It really doesn't tell you what it is. It just calls it a fitting. But I think this is that's actually a check valve to prevent the oil from flowing back to the remote tank when the engine's turned off. Because as you can see, I just hooked up this vinyl tubing here, just so I ran it, and you can see there's some oil in here, and I'll insert a video of the engine running and you can see the oil flow. It's not really flowing really fast, but it was flowing kind of at a steady stream once all the air got out of there. And this oil that's in here was from, I don't know, a couple minutes of run time. So I think that's probably the normal oil flow. If it's not, after you see the video, let me know. But anyways, I've ordered another one of these inline filters, and I've ordered another one of these valves. And then just kind of, of course, looking over the motor, I noticed that there's another inline filter here, and then there's a second one up here on top of the engine. And so I'll probably have to order a couple more of those. I was looking over the engine to see if there was any additional ones, and I didn't see them. But because these have a recommended replacement time of 100 hours, I looked over all my service records for the past 8 years that I had the boat, and it's about a $6 part. And I didn't see any reference to an inline oil filter in any of my repair orders. So I'm gonna go ahead and change that out. This brass valve is about 37 bucks. So I got another one of those coming as well. And then down here on the oil caps, I ordered the new O-rings for those, and those are about 4 bucks. And so not a really expensive job. On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the most difficult, this is like a 1. It's pretty simple really didn't need any tools other than I had to pick up some large channel locks to get those caps off the remote tank. But anyway, as soon as those parts get here, I'll put it all back together. This vinyl tubing I did just to check the oil flow was like $3, along with a almost dropped it there, along with just a coupler to connect to the oil line. So yeah, pretty simple fix. Once I get those fittings, I'll have to rebleed the system. Once I get it back together, I'll rebleed the system to get all the air out of it, because as I did start it up with the bottle here, it took a little bit of time to get all the air out of the line, but it was flowing steady, and I think that should take care of the problem. So just need to get those parts. Should have them in a couple days, I think. I ordered them last week, and that should take care of the problem. So the parts that I'm ordering, I'm getting from boats.net. It's a really good place if you need information on your motor, regardless if it's the oil system or something else on the motor. Boats.net has diagrams of every component and a parts list of every item on the motor, whether it's the oil system, the power trim, the power head, ignition, whatever. They have diagrams for everything with part list and calls out for every item on there. And it's kind of funny that this brass fitting, they just call it out as a fitting. It's not called anything else, it's just a fitting. It's kind of odd. And that, like I said, that's $37. The oil filters are about $6, and the O-rings for the tank are $4 each. So pretty easy fix. Once I get the parts, I'll have it back together, start the motor up, run it, make sure that the oil tank is filling up, and then it should be good to go. Get back on the water. So anyways, hope that information helps you out. And it was kind of long, but I like to kind of go through things and figure out how they work. It's just kind of how my mind works, growing up with a dad and a brother who are mechanics. I always took things apart and put them back together. So hope that helps. You know, if this happened again, I would just replace the oil filter and that fitting and be done with it, and I think that would take care of it. Always bleed the tank. Now, if there was a problem with this tank, this is like $235 for the oil tank. Pretty expensive item because of that sensor that's in there, but fortunately it wasn't that item. It was just a, you know, $50 in parts with shipping and stuff. So pretty easy fix on that. So hopefully that helps you guys out if you have the similar problem. But again, don't forget to check on these filters every 100 hours. You should replace those. I'm gonna have to order 2 more, replace those other ones, and should be good to go. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave it down in the comment section. I'll get back to you right away. And thanks again for watching.